And he said, no, I will teach you Russian vodka drinking ceremony. It starts at noon.
Hello, hosts and travelers. Welcome to the podcast Hosting Your Home. Each week, around the world, millions of guests stay in other people's homes using the Airbnb platform. Debbie Herder looks for stories that come from these connections. Listen in as we hear stories that teach us the human side of hosting your home.
Hi, everybody. This is Debbie at Hosting Your Home. Welcome back for another episode. So, about today's episode, Shannon Hiller Webb is really an amazing woman. I met her probably a couple of years ago when we first started doing the meetups. And I went over to her house, which is not very far away from mine, to interview her. And it was an incredible time. I'm not surprised it was incredible because she really is a truly amazing woman. And as I listened to the podcast so that I could prepare my intro and outro, I was fascinated all over again. I learned again. I really hope that you enjoy this. In fact, I know that you're going to enjoy this because she just has so much enthusiasm and so much energy and so much love for what she does. This is a long episode. I almost want to apologize for it, but it's so good. You might want to take it in bites, but there is just so much information here. I hope you listen to the whole thing. And always, you can find the show notes at our webpage at hostingyourhome.com. So enjoy this, and I'll be back afterwards. Well, let me backtrack a little bit and say, Shannon, hi.
Hi, how about that? We've been talking for like 40 minutes.
Thank you for doing this podcast with me. Would you tell us your last name, please?
Sorry, it's Hiller Webb.
Shannon Hiller Webb.
Yep.
Okay, and we are in the southwest quadrant of Portland, close to OHSU, Pale Hill, close to downtown.
Lewis and Clark.
Yeah. Close to the river. You can see the river just right.
Redid the whole thing during snowpocalypse.
Oh, did you?
Reoriented everything.
And your house is how old?
1944.
Okay. I love the leaded glass in the stairway.
That door did not exist. I found it at an auction house.
Oh.
I took 7 layers of paint and varnish off of it.
Oh my goodness.
Resized it, did the hammer copper on the bottom.
Oh yeah.
Replaced all of the like the hardware and added the doorknob, inset copper
Oh, that's
in here.
beautiful.
It took me 180 hours.
Oh my gosh.
So if I ever move, which I won't,
the door
door's
goes
coming.
Yeah.
Just to even hang somewhere, because that took me so long. I really wanted a separation between floors, though, but I wanted all the light to still come through. So this is one of the rooms, and this is known as the pink room.
Sweet.
So I bought this.
So a single sleigh bed in
Yeah.
this room, and you've got oak hardwood. What do you?
Yeah, top nail hardwoods.
floors?
Yeah. This was all carpeting when I was growing up. Because this is the house I grew up in.
Oh, is that right? Okay.
So I've been here since I was 9.
Oh my goodness.
So that's
Shannon, that's awesome.
a really long. It's 31 years.
Wow.
So my mom passed away 12 years ago, and I inherited it. And I thought, well, I'll fix it up and sell it, because I was living in San Francisco at the time. And then it was a long process to fix it up, and I fell in love with it again. And my neighbors have never moved, so they all knew us as little kids. They knew my mom, and I realized I'll never get that back. Plus, the location's killer.
Yeah, the location is amazing.
Yeah. I have so much OHSU people
Yeah,
that
you're
come
very
here.
close to the...
Yeah, they all come here. The price is right. It's
Yeah.
so easy to get to. And
So residents or interns or...
you know, the people who stay the most are interviewing, and they'll do working interviews for free for 4 to 5 weeks up at the hospital.
Oh.
It's so hard to get in OHSU that they come and do free working interviews
Yes.
to increase their chances.
Yes.
So I've made really close friends with so many of them, and one of them may be coming back and moving, like she might be accepted, in which case I've told her, this is the only time I've ever said it, I would let her move in here. We got along so...
You really liked her.
So much that I was like, okay, I'm not really into the whole moving in thing, but you know, you feel like you're a permanent fixture of this home and you're the right energy for this house.
Oh, nice.
So she was really great.
How do you get that particular type of guest. If you've narrowed down I realize we're starting the interview here, but and it wasn't my plan to do it quite this way, but if you know that you have a particular affinity towards a certain type of person, how do you work that? How do you amplify that? How do you get more of them?
It's interesting. I think it's in the reviews. I think they find me first. The people who review me have the most lovely things to say, and I didn't even understand for a very long time till someone pointed out to me, most of my reviews don't review the house. Most of them review me as a person.
Yes.
And then when I get to talking with other people, they say, no, I wanted to meet you, or I wanted to know you, and half the reviews have my dog in it, or, it just sounded like the place that would feel like home while I'm in Portland, because you sound so inviting and welcoming. And so those people who feel social, who want that kind of energy around them, they find me first. Mm-hmm. If I look like the right price, I work really hard on my pricing, mm-hmm. and I think the most I charge is $55.
So it's a single room with a single bed, a beautiful sleigh bed.
I intentionally did a single bed. I wanted mm-hmm. one person on this main floor because mm-hmm. I share the same floor. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to have like one-on-one contact and not too much overuse of the bathroom, and it lends itself to this. So it's $55, yes. And obviously I have discounts for a week or a month stay that excite those who are going to OHSU. It's the right price. And some people try to, want to get a better rate. I will negotiate with them too. Mm-hmm. If you're the right person, I'd rather have the right person in here than the price. So,
do you ever increase it above 55?
I don't. I feel like I get people with different expectations. So that's where I come from. So, I don't want someone coming in here, and I've had it, where people come in here and they're very much on the verge of being in the streets, and they treat the home way differently, and I have a sense of anxiety and fear about my safety or my belongings. Mm-hmm. And so I don't try to be the cheapest.
Yes.
There's a level of expectation when you price your rooms too high that there's another level of cleaning service, or I had one person leave me a bad review because I didn't spend enough time talking with him. He wanted a full friendship and expectation. He was like, I usually stay at the Four Seasons. I opted to stay with her, and I was not given my due time. Which was really interesting. And I keep my house very clean, but mm-hmm. I also feel like if I was at $75, $85 a night, the expectation level is very different. Mm-hmm. I don't have cleaning fees on any of my spaces.
Oh, you don't?
Intentionally. Okay. I feel like this is my home. I maintain my home. I'm not trying to have any hidden costs when you see it, because it's difficult the way Airbnb does it on their platform. You don't see the final total fee like you would on an eBay. Here's the cost, here's the shipping fee, that's the total fee. Mm-hmm. So people get into it and they feel somewhat misled. That already starts a difficult relationship in communication with me. So I've managed other people's Airbnbs or helped them set up, and I've watched the ones who were insistent on a cleaning fee. The relationship dynamic changes, and it's already disingenuous from the beginning. So for me, I'm all one fee. And then it takes out that extra layer of judgment, I feel, when there's no cleaning fee.
Do you also have a one-night minimum or a two-night minimum?
2. Yeah. It's not worth my time to do a one-night.
That's what I was thinking, that's a lot of work.
It is a lot of work. But again, it is my home, and so I manage it, and I can, I manage the flow. Even though I'm on Instant Book, 90% of it is contacted with an inquiry first. Mm-hmm. So I really look at the ebb and flow of the house. What can I manage? What's the expectation? If there's multiple people here, are they going to get along well? Here's the story. I had a woman who contacted me from Texas who said, I'm transgender. And I've never been in Airbnb, used Airbnb. I have to ask you if I'll be safe. And
good for her.
My heart broke a little bit because she had to share some things so intimate and personal about herself before she even knew me. Mm-hmm. But her safety was the priority. And I assured her that her safety was my priority. And so while she was here for a week, while she was here, I got an inquiry from 2 young men I wasn't certain would be comfortable, and I'm certainly not going to. So I turned them down.
Where would they have stayed? If
Upstairs.
Okay.
So I have another space upstairs. And so for me, it was worth declining whatever their reservation was just to maintain my promise and security because I wasn't going to out her. That's not my business. Right. But they were an unknown entity and may not have been comfortable with it. And I didn't even want to go down that road.
Right.
So I never told her about it. We just but that's my responsibility. If I have more than one space that I'm sharing in this house, it's my responsibility to protect everyone that's here. So
that's very considerate.
So often they never see one another. People are just busy. They come here and they go, like it's, but at other times the flow has been where they've made long friendships. I mean, best friends. I've had people who have then done the entire city together and then gone on and traveled together even more. So
that's
when
awesome.
You can make a community within this community platform even stronger and bridge friendships, this is why I do it. I mean, that's the stuff that excites me. I get friendships out of it, but then my guests get friendships out of it. It's really cool. I mean, we had a woman who went up to Canada. She was here for 3 weeks, and she took a road trip up to Canada and then didn't come back. When she said she was going to. She was going to go for a couple days and come back down. And we were all freaking out because we'd gotten so close with her and we knew when she was coming back. And so we were calling Airbnb. We can't get a hold of her. We were reaching out to her son. I knew her son because he'd been here and I had his number. I don't remember why. But he was up with her. None of their phones were working in Canada. And she came back a day later. And we were Airbnb contacted her. They got a hold of her, called me and said she's fine. She's coming back down. Oh. The other guests that were here, they became long friends. They would talk for hours and hours and hours. I mean, they became great friends. We caretake for them. I mean, I had a power outage and I had a guest upstairs. I had to make certain her needs were met before anything else. I take it very seriously that we are here for them.
Yeah.
So, in every regard.
Lovely story. So where do you live?
Oh, sorry, over here.
So you're right across the hall from this bedroom.
Yeah, so it makes makes my decision about who goes in there even more important.
Yeah, because they were so close.
Yeah, right. They are. But most of the time people come in, sit on the chair, hang out, talk to I could be in the bed. We'll just they come whatever. It's very communal.
You don't require a lot of personal space. It looks like.
No. Oh. If I've chosen to share my space with you, I'm generally choosing to share myself with you. So, I'm usually really open and available. I tell every single person I can help curate their tour for them. Even while in the midst of them being in the city, I'm just text me. If you're in the middle of a neighborhood and you're I don't know where to eat, I don't know where to go. I know everything. I know everything about this city. So just holler at me. I'll get you where you need to go.
And you share the bathroom with your guests?
I do. I do. And it works.
And do you have one bathroom for the entire house?
No.
There's one upstairs?
Yeah.
Okay.
And people would think...
interesting to have the shower and tub in an alcove like that.
Yeah, this is kind of a design feature of the whole house of this kind of alcove thing. Most people would think I would take the upstairs because it's so private. It's 2 bedrooms and a bathroom upstairs. And for me, I like being in the mix.
So, bedroom number 1 upstairs. Oh, isn't this sweet? This is very sweet.
So
says a queen bed or a double bed?
Yeah,
Queen.
And then I redid the whole bathroom. I tiled it and put in a heated floor myself.
Oh, you did?
Yep.
Oh, good for you. You did this by yourself.
Yep. If I need to do something, I'll just go learn how to do it. So I learned how to weld and all sorts of stuff. Yeah, just
nice.
A little bathroom.
Yep. Perfectly functional.
Their bedroom. I did not pick this paint color. It's the only one my sister got to choose.
Oh, is that right? This is a nice room too. Yeah. So this is again a queen bed, right?
Yeah, people love the bed.
Yeah. What kind of mattress do you have?
It's a sleep number.
Oh,
it's insane.
Really?
It's kind of crazy. And then I got one of those free beds as well.
Tough to needle?
Yeah. Which is over there.
Okay.
So the upstairs, people write reviews about the beds.
Oh, good.
They love the beds. And all the artwork is my mother's in there.
Oh, cool. Well, I'm looking forward to getting cozy with you and chatting about your business now. If we can just have a seat here at your kitchen table. Lovely kitchen table.
Thank you. It's my grandmother's sister. I did everything with my grandmother.
And I bet your guests really appreciate that too, that you literally are sharing your real home with them and all of your treasures.
Yeah.
Do they have access to
everything?
Your kitchen and
everything. And my kitchen is like a gourmet kitchen, so I was a chef, so everything in it is top of the line. I mean, you're not cooking with top of the line yet, but you will be soon. I'm getting an induction burner and an oven, which is crazy exciting. But yeah, people cook here. Not a lot, but the ones that do, they cook a lot. And I cook with them. We've had dinner parties with guests. And
I was just going to ask if you cook for them and with them too. If you've got
really,
someone here for a week or
I don't usually cook for them as much as I cook with them. Like I taught a girl how to cook some dishes because she's like, I don't know how to cook. I'm like, great, let's go. I took her to the farm out in Ayers Creek in Gaston, Oregon. We picked up our fresh milled polenta and the vegetables, and we came back here and I taught her how to make polenta and enjoyed a meal. And we made risotto together. And someone was here during the first part of the snowstorm, so she was snowed in here. So I made her German pancakes in the morning. That's actually really funny. That's my family recipe. Go to your bed. And I've had 2 Germans who've stayed here, and they're like, yeah, German pancakes aren't a thing in Germany. And I'm like, okay, well, let me make you my German pancakes, and it'll be
a surprise.
Yeah, it'll be your first German experience in America. So I will. I started out thinking I would make breakfast for people, but I quickly found that most people want to enjoy the amazing food culture that we have here.
Yes.
So most lean on me heavily for how much inside knowledge I have about the food industry because I come from it. I'm friends with everybody on Facebook, so I literally know everything that's happening. I know the restaurant when it's having a soft opening. I can send people when there's pop-up dinners. I've taken people out to some really amazing events and farm dinners. I had an invitation to go to West Elm for a dinner inside West Elm. I took a guest here with me to do that, which was kind of fun. Yeah, I bring them into my world. And
how do you know? To get back to our conversation, how do you know what's going on where? How do you tap into the mainstream of what's happening in Portland?
I'm friends with them all. So I'm a native. So I grew up here, and I've been in the art world. I've been in the culinary world, and where those two intersect is my culture. So I'm really well networked, and I have an abundance of friends. And so, you know, I remember I had a gay couple staying here, and they were like, what's the hot event tonight? First of all, Portland's not a huge night town. I mean, it's not, people don't go out that much.
But it's getting bigger.
It is, but I mean, compared to San Francisco to LA, when you're traveling the West Coast, which so many people are doing, you know, a West Coast tour, Portland's not the big night out city. I even tell people, I've had a lot of guests from New York, and they're like, okay, you know, what's going on? I'm like, first of all, most bars, people are mass exiting at 10:30 to 11 because they have to let the dog out. And they were like,
or
seriously?
Take the babysitter home.
Right? I'm like, no, I'm not joking. And then sure enough, they were at a very hopping bar, and they looked around at 10:30 to 11, and they both looked at each other and said they must be letting the dog out. You know, like it's a little bit more still of a sleepy town, getting bigger, but still. And I know that there was a CFO that left Intel because there wasn't a nightlife. He came from London.
Oh.
They recruited the CFO for Intel, bigwig job for a 30-something gay man. Like, it was a big deal. He came here. And he was like, I'm out. Like, you got nothing going. This was like a year ago.
Oh, for heaven's sake.
He's like, I can't live my lifestyle here. Like, you don't have anything happening after 10. So, and, you know, there's some truth to that. There's after parties. But that's, again, like, a tourist isn't going to come in and know when the after parties are or when where the warehouse parties are. You know, that. So I made a phone call and said, okay, what's happening tonight? Turns out it was like, wear your whitey tighties event at a warehouse. And so I got him in there. You know, so, you know, I'm just very well connected to the culture of having been raised here. And of course I love PDX Eater. That's an easy one to go to and find great food resources, even if I wasn't in the industry, if I wasn't so connected to the things that are happening. I also, I mean, I live this life.
Yes.
So, you know, I'm on all the mailing lists for farm dinners. So, you know, I usually go to 5 or 10 farm dinners in the summer. And art openings. You know, I've done a lot of marketing and advertising, so I'm really connected to kind of a lot of the art openings and events.
And you are a co-founder of Green Zebra, which is something I know that our guests will be interested in. What is Green Zebra?
So Green Zebra Grocery is a mashup of a 7-Eleven and a Whole Foods market. So it's all the goods and services you would find in an organic grocery store, just at a smaller scale, so that you can get into neighborhoods much deeper and offer more quality products that's your neighborhood grocer.
Mm-hmm. And you have how many stores now?
The third one is opening in February at PSU.
Okay.
And which is going to be actually a really perfect location for us because it's a quick shop for a millennial that's purchasing on average more frequently and they're shopping more healthfully. So it's the perfect mix for us.
Yeah. Portland State University students can just pop in there. And then I think you told me that you have plans for more.
The very ambitious goals and not to be limited just to Portland. So
that was going to be my next question too, is where?
Up and down the West Coast. It's obviously an area that, coming from New Seasons Market, we know this buyer, the shopper, a little bit better than Midwest or East Coast at this point.
Cool. Wow. That must keep you super busy. I just want to interrupt myself here and say, Shannon has a dog. His name is Jägermeister. His name is Jaeger.
Yeah.
And he's a Weimaraner, and he's very interested in our conversation and the food on the table. So
he's going to be.
You'll hear him.
The other one interviewed. I'm sure he'll speak later.
Yeah.
Did you ask a question?
I don't know if I did or not.
Okay.
So we were talking about Green Zebra, and I'm thinking about how you coordinate your Green Zebra work with your Airbnb, with your lifestyle and your networking, and you're such a dynamic person, and you've done so many things. How do you live your life?
Well, I should state, I started Airbnb. The impetus for starting it was because as I was about to embark on creating Green Zebra, I was concerned it was a high-risk adventure that may not be fruitful, and I wanted a backup plan to fall on should it all go awry. Okay. And Airbnb became wildly successful, and because I was building a company, it was actually the perfect blend of being able to manage a flexible schedule with the needs of the flexible needs of Airbnb's guest arrival and departures. When the store opened, I kind of calmed how much I was doing, and it was also the slow season. I opened the company in October, our first location in October, which, as we know, kind of Portland goes into a slower, sleepier season, at least for me, until March, but really until May. I mean, of course, I have business all through there, but not at the volume and, turnover as we do through May through October for me.
Right.
So it was a natural dormant period while my other business was ramping up at that time. And then I had the opportunity to leave the day-to-day of Green Zebra and become more of a consultant for grocers at large. And so that actually afforded me even greater flexibility to...
And more time.
More time. So I was able to tailor where the peaks of both businesses were. And they were actually intersect beautifully. So, and so that's what I do now. I consult and run Airbnb, and then I have a lot of time where I do creative projects and adventures and, personal growth and travel. So
awesome.
I
sounds
have
like a
to
dream life, honestly.
I'm really happy.
Yeah.
I feel like I've curated my life.
Yeah.
to meet my needs, so that I'm growing, expanding myself. I'm helping others grow and expand themselves. I'm really a conscious engager in my life. I'm consciously engaged in my life. And my life is more beautiful and perfect for all the people that come into it from Airbnb. The relationships that I make are sustained and guide me even more. So I'm, my travel, I'm going to Germany in September, and I have 4 guests, different guests that they don't know one another, that I'm going to be traveling through Germany, and then some of them are going to travel with me to Amsterdam and to Italy. And so my world is bigger because of it.
Yeah.
And I'm enlightened. I actually got a client from my grocery business from an Airbnb person that stayed here. There were 2 women from Canada that came they came for a wedding. And one was from Canada, one was from San Francisco, and they both said, "You're clearly doing something more than Airbnb. What do you do?" And I told them, and this financial planner out of San Francisco said, "One of my clients has an upstart grocery, and she's failing, and she needs help, and there aren't consultants out there. I'm in a very niche business," and connected us, and I was able to work with this client up in Gig Harbor, Washington, and have a really successful business there.
So fantastic how your Airbnb clients are supporting your other businesses.
Endeavors. Yeah, yes. It was kind of amazing. Yeah. And then, I stay with Airbnb when I travel.
Right.
So, you just,
Would you tell us the story that you told me last week about the guidebook? Your Asian guest.
So early on in being part of Airbnb, and I started in 2012, I was working with my grocery business for a very well-known designer, and he's well-known in Asia. And
what kind of designer?
So he worked with Wyden Kennedy as the global creative director. His name is John Jay, and he's famous all over the world. He's on the board for the Smithsonian. I mean, he's really a big deal.
Yeah.
And I had someone who stayed with me, who apparently was coming here to meet with him and had done their research, and unbeknownst to me, found me through me being his only client at the time, and opted to stay here. Again, all of this completely unknown to me. She sits me down for 3 hours and asks me everything I possibly know about my favorite things in Portland, and I just keep talking. I just keep giving her all my favorite friends, local businesses.
And where did this lady come from?
She's from Japan.
Japan, okay.
And then, we said our goodbyes. We had a great time, and never thought anything about it.
She was here for a week?
Yep. Okay. Yeah, and that's, it's pretty normal for me to share my knowledge with people, so that wasn't out of the ordinary. I would say a little over a year later, I had another Asian guest, and I have a lot of Asian guests. I had another Asian guest who, her English was not awesome, but we were able to speak well together, and I was driving her to another part of town, and she said, you must have a lot of Asian guests. And I said, "Oh, I do." And she said, "That's because you're in the guidebook." And I said, let's think of Airbnb as an online guidebook. Yeah, let's think of, sure. She said, "No, you're in the guidebook." And I'm like, "Yep, we're going with it. Go on." And she pulls out this monster book called The Ultimate Guide to Portland for Creative People. And she flips to this page, and there's a picture of my home, and everything's written in Japanese characters except for the words Shannon and Charming. And I was just blown away. And I realize now that the woman who sat me down and interviewed me for all those hours basically put all my favorite businesses and friends' businesses and restaurants in this book, including me. I was only one of 2 Airbnbs listed in the book as places to stay. So it's amazing to me. Now I still get people, and it's been a couple of years, who stay here and are over the moon excited they get to stay at the place in the book. And it's been translated into other Asian languages, and it's available on, Japanese Amazon, and it's digital. I had a woman from Korea, which downloaded the online version in Korea.
Oh my goodness.
Who stayed here a few months ago and was, again, ecstatic. And yeah, so
that's fabulous.
I finally just got a copy.
And how did you get that copy?
Well, because I went to a Travel Portland event and mentioned it to someone that I was in the book. And apparently Travel Portland commissioned this book. And it's an advertising piece for Portland that they created. And so they hired her and her company, I guess, to write this book. I don't think they gave her a whole lot of parameters about how to go about finding out, all the things that make Portland special. But so they had some copies and were able to give me one because I could not order it from an Asian Amazon. They don't ship here.
Oh my goodness.
I can't even create an account. Mm-hmm. So I did just get it. I'm over the moon. I have it.
I'd love to see it.
Oh, happy. Yeah, it's in the basement. I'll get it for you. Yeah. So, that was a special, unexpected, I don't know, a memory.
Yeah, that's wonderful. You mentioned that you have had some unusual and maybe not quite savory experiences with guests. Can you tell us a story?
You want the Turkish secret
yes,
service agent?
Yes.
Russian ex-Turkish. Okay. So I would say early on in my Airbnb days, I had a guest who was particularly savvy and staying here for 10 days from Russia. He had more communication than most in advance of his travels, so he was calling me from Russia to talk to me about, what the room was like and all sorts of stuff.
Which room did he end up staying in?
The pink room.
Okay.
Which at the time I think was the only room I had on. I started with one room as a test.
Okay.
And for the longest time it was only the pink room that I had on. So he stayed here. And I actually, I had a friend staying with me upstairs. So he wanted to arrive early, which I left work to make certain I could meet him here. And then he showed up 5 hours later than he was supposed to. And so he arrived here, probably 7 or 8 o'clock at night. And when I said, was everything okay? What happened? And he said he had tried to rent a car, but because his credit card didn't have any numbers on it, they wouldn't rent him the car. And so he had to go find someone who's willing to do a high-risk rental because he was carrying a Russian black credit card that was connected to the mafia. He was in the Russian mob.
Wow.
And he's telling me this quite matter-of-factly.
How do you have a credit card with no numbers?
I don't know. I never questioned. I don't know. But he ended up paying like $750 for a 10-day rental for this card because people didn't want to rent to him. Uh-huh. So that was the first thing. And then he said he stopped and bought, I think, 3 burner cell phones. Again, a new concept for me, kind of never really...
Mm-hmm.
So I said, maybe we should just sit down. We should just chat, let's just hang out in the living room. Let's just chat. What are you trying to... Or I knew he was coming here. He'd originally written me to tell me he was coming here to surprise his fiance who was studying English here for a few months. And it was Valentine's Day. Some of the reasons he also had contacted me is he's asked if he could ship some gifts to the house in advance of his arrival. So while we're sitting there and getting to know one another a little bit, he opened up the gifts, and apparently he had hacked her Facebook account and seen the gifts that she was buying her current boyfriend and bought the same things for him, a cologne, a tie, and had them shipped here, in addition to an owl necklace of black diamonds that he then asked. He said, Shannon, I am seeing you have gift wrapping station. Can you kindly wrap my beloved's gift? So I'm downstairs now wrapping this gift for a woman that he is not in a relationship with.
Who has a different boyfriend.
Yeah.
Who probably doesn't even know he exists.
Doesn't know he's here. They were exes.
Oh, okay.
So he said, I'm still surprising her. And I'm like, okay. And he said, I'm going to do that now. And she was in Lake Oswego. And at this point, after we're talking, it's 11 o'clock at night. And I said, I really don't think you should go and do a drive-by in Lake Oswego at 11 o'clock at night. Anywho, so... there's no shame in his game. He's pretty open and honest about his situation. And I'm concerned, obviously, but also it's not my place to engage in people's business while they're here. It took me a couple days to realize, because he kept saying, please don't tell her that I'm here, that she'd contacted me before she came to see if she could stay here, and I had turned her down. I had felt uneasy in her communications, and I'd decided that wasn't someone I wanted to stay here. And I realized after the fact that he'd picked me to stay here because she'd picked me and he'd hacked her Airbnb account.
Oh.
So that was disconcerting. But once I realized that a couple of days in, I realized I had her contact information. At that time, Airbnb still retained everyone's contact information. And so on some level, I reserved that if I felt, he was being so honest with me and transparent, that if I felt she was in danger, I knew I could contact her. I just withheld that as the last resort. So the next morning, he was in his Sunday best and gone by like 6:30 in the morning. And when he returned, he had open, bloody wounds on his arm, which I asked him what was going on. He'd gone and stalked her at her house, which how he found her house is also interesting. So he called her and had her use the FaceTime feature. And, they were still talking, even though she was in another relationship. And he was able to visually see the color of the house, hear train tracks, and Google map a few options as to where she lived, because he didn't have her address definitively. So he tracked down a couple of different options. He'd also, when he hacked her Facebook account, had found she'd been admitted to the hospital for something, looked at her armrest, and found an identification number, called the hospital, and said, I believe we've given you the wrong address for billing. Can you please confirm the address that you have on file?
For heaven's sake.
Now, the hospital had enough wherewithal to say, you're not her, and he said, no, I'm her Russian translator. So they gave the address they had on file.
Wow.
He also said, we have the greatest police he's ever experienced. He'd called 5 different police stations to get her boyfriend's home address. And even though every police station gave him an address that they had on file, none of them were his current address. So, and he's just telling me all of this, right? He's a chain smoker. He's OCD washing his hands. He's a massive alcoholic. And he's like, $1.50. I mean, he's just so small and everything. But, so he's just, there's a lot going on. And he's nice. I mean, that's the thing. He's actually, as crazy as it all sounds, he was really nice, easy to talk to. And, he brought me pastries from his mother. His mother had made him pastries to give to me. When he called me in advance and he said, Shannon, I am seeing you have bar. Can I bring you, Russian vodka? And I was like, no, that's okay. And he said, no, I will teach you Russian vodka drinking ceremony. It starts at noon. And so when he showed up, he brought me the biggest bottle of Russian vodka and pastries from his mother.
Oh my goodness.
So when he came back with bloody arms, I said, what's up? He said he'd convinced her to get into the car to talk with him with the lure of this gift. And when she was done talking with him, she tried to get out of the car, and he said they weren't done talking. So then she started beating him with her cell phone to get out of the car. So I'm thinking, okay, this is not a good start. And so I'm counseling him. I'm like, I think she's saying she doesn't want you around. No, we're in love. Okay, well, I think that she's saying something else. So then he would back off a little bit. And then he because he had hacked her Facebook account, he always knew where she was going. She'd announce where she was at. So he would show up where she was. And he'd just start following her, which was making her uncomfortable. He showed up outside of her house, was stalking her in the backyard. The police were called. They called his burner phone. I was sitting here while he took the call from the police saying cease and desist. He gets off the phone and his response to me is, Shannon, I am thinking it is holiday and your court systems will be closed. There's nothing they can do to me for 3 days. And I'm like, wrong answer, Mariah, wrong answer. And he was like, I'm trying to talk to him about American culture and that this is stalking, this is not courtship. I, at one point, I convinced him that, let's call your mom and tell him what you're really doing here, and, like, let's have her talk some sense into you. I think you need to back off. I convinced him to stop stalking her for about 3 days. And the whole time, I'm just really gauging, like, is she safe? Is she okay? What's going on? And then she started calling him. So then I realized this is courtship for them. She likes the attention.
Wow.
I've been young and dumb before. She's re-engaging. He was completely stopped for 3 days. She's re-engaging him. Now that's on her, and it's not for me to intervene.
Yes.
So it didn't end there. At the end of 10 days, he didn't win her back as he had hoped. But he had purchased, he knew when her return flight to Russia was, and was flying into Vienna. So he had purchased a ticket from Vienna to Russia and changed her seating assignment so that they were next to one another so that he could have another chance of winning her back.
Oh my gosh. So
that was a tense 10 days.
Yeah.
And it got me thinking about screening a little bit better. And at that time, too, Airbnb was going through a transition where they were kind of locking down a lot more information and communications and access to contact information. He never left me a review.
Darn his eyes. After all that.
I'm like, I was a pretty good host.
Oh my gosh, you're exceptional.
But I still have the bottle of vodka.
You're not into drinking at noon.
No, and his mother's pastries were lovely, and in the end, his attention was never on me. I was never in danger, and I always kept that in mind when I was going through it day to day. His attention was on her, and my responsibility was to making certain she was safe.
But how do you screen your guests? Since you're a single woman in your home and you have guests across the hall from you, how do you do this?
I make certain that they have at least 2 of 3 things I can gauge their temperament and interests.
Because you use Instant Book.
I do, but it's very rarely taken advantage of in my case. Okay. And I think, as I shared before, so many people that reach out, they see I'm a very involved host, or can be. Because
they're reading the reviews.
Because they're reading reviews. There's some people who just Instant Book who don't read a review and don't know I have a dog. I mean, even though it's definitely a filter in my profile, and most reviews talk about my dog. There's pictures, and I've listed his weight, and it's in my personal profile description. There are still people who will show up after Instant Booking like, you have a dog? But I find a lot of people read reviews, at least the first few.
Yeah.
And I think they get a good sense of me and my home. The people who review me really take a lot of time to review me, and say the most thoughtful things. And for those who are more critical, they can read my responses where I really put a lot of effort into being conscious of their concerns. And some people, trying to think of something. Someone said the house was too cold, and I think temperature is such a personal thing that even in the welcome letters, I talk about how people can adjust the temperatures for their comforts and things that they can do to mitigate it, from fans to heat to blankets and things. And if they don't read that welcome letter, and I haven't had a chance to meet them, but I'm very thoughtful. I'm very conscious of that. Okay, so back to your original question, how do I filter? I really feel strongly that they have to have it 2 of the 3, either a really nice email, a great profile description of yourself, or reviews. If you don't have 2 of the 3, I'm not even entertaining you, because I'm not going to get enough of a picture of who you are to determine if you should be in my house and I'm safe. If you're new and you don't have anything, I'll write back, and I'll let you know. I have a lot of people that are new and say, I need to know more about you and, your interest in being here. Right. Then we can start that dialogue. If you have 0, I just decline you automatically. So if you have 0 of those 3 things done, you haven't even put enough time into or care into this relationship and exchange. You're not worth my time even responding. So it's just an immediate decline. I only accepted 10% of the people who initially reached out to me the first year that I did this. I was so militant about screening people that were coming into my home that I needed to have a true understanding of who you were. And even with that 10% screening, I still got, Russian mafia and single white female stalker for myself. So, I think because I've been around so long, I benefit from my reviews and I benefit from my knowledge of what works and doesn't work. And I have a lot of students with Lewis and Clark and a lot of medical professionals with OHSU. Those are just greenlit. Mm-hmm. They're here for a certain reason. They're just, we all understand what that relationship's going to be. Yeah. I don't even have to do much more prying than that. If you're Canadian, yes, please stay here. You're amazing. Mm-hmm. Canadians are awesome. Mm-hmm. And I probably get 50% of the people that contact me are Canadian. Oh. There's so many Canadian travelers. I think we're all just a similar, like-minded community, so it's easy. They're social. They have the same interests. Kind, polite, great people. So those are the types of things that you just live and learn. Of course, I've learned also that with Asian guests, I get a lot of gifts, and I did a little research, and it's appropriate for me to give gifts in return. So,
do you stockpile gifts so that you can? Do you?
I do.
What kind of things?
Well, I also learned that it's important not to give them a gift more value than the one that they give. Mm-hmm. So I tried to think about what would be less expensive but valued. And so I learned from someone that stayed here that they teach classes about Portland throughout Asia. And one of the things that they're very well informed about is the Keep Portland Weird mantra. And so I went to Pal's Books and I got the Keep Portland Weird bumper stickers. Oh. That they don't necessarily have cars to put them on. Uh-huh. But they like they like ephemera. They like stickers and they like things like that. So those are always very well received. I oftentimes will get food items that they bring. I've been given Asian cough drops. This really highly sought after chicken dish, which is people are like, oh my God, you have this? Because they don't sell it outside the country. Mints, I get erasers, a lot of fabrics. So from napkins to placemats to table runners. I've had women make me origami cranes. Uh-huh. And yeah, so I just made, it may be simple. I had someone give me, he wrapped Asian cooking tools. So he gave me this huge bag of Asian cooking tools, which was kind of cool and things that we don't normally see here. Mm-hmm. So, you never really know what you're going to get, but I always try to make certain. I've made cherry chutney that I've jarred and put like beautiful little tags on it. And so for people who stay here longer or I form a stronger relationship with, I send them home with something I've made. Mm-hmm. And that's really personal. I take a lot of people to the farmer's market with me because we have one of the best farmer's markets in the city, and it's every Sunday. And so I'll tend to buy them things at the farmer's market there that may have been things they've never tried before or uniquely Portland. Mm. And sometimes it's just that I, help share an experience with them. So it's not always a gift, but it's my time and a unique thing that they get to experience because they've been here and they know me. So for each person, it's different.
Beautiful. Do you feel supported by Airbnb? What is your relationship with Airbnb?
I think I have a really strong relationship with Airbnb, but it's grown. I think from the very beginning they reached out and certainly showed their support and interest in understanding how better to serve. And that was something I really respected. The platform's always been easy to navigate and use, and I've always appreciated how easy they make it. So often you meet companies who aren't listening or responding to the user's experience and how they can perfect it, and I've always felt like they listen and sought greater knowledge. Customer service has been up and down. And I know that they're going through a big growth period, and so we can see I think we see sometimes that growth and the growing pains that they have. You know, I've helped a lot. I've probably helped 50 people go on the platform and help them list. I've managed a couple of my friends' listings that they've ultimately taken over. And I did have a customer service experience that was one of the most horrific experiences I've ever had in my life. And that was over $25. And I think I spent 36 hours on a $25 issue.
Oh my goodness.
And at the core of it wasn't the $25. At that point, it was the principle of it. And that was egregious. I probably spoke to 16 customer service reps.
Wow.
I spoke to them over the course of 5 days, 6 days maybe. I was appalled at the lack of empowerment that the lower level customer service, you know, the initial person taking the call. I was appalled at how they were so unempowered to make a decision. Everything was escalate. Over $25. It cost the company and me more money and time than you could possibly imagine. Yeah. And it was a $25 decision that no one had the power to make without going to management. So that to me was a failure in their business. And I've shared that with them. I don't have a lot of customer service issues. So when I did have that one, and it did take that long, and fundamentally it was, you know, it was a charge, it was an additional person charge. And the person booking didn't list that there were 2 people coming, and so that second person wasn't getting the upcharge. And so when it was discovered and communications were made, a couple weeks in advance of their arrival, they said, well, that's not our fault, eat it. And we're pretty much that aggressive in their email communication. And we're going to go and stay in the same residence as the person they were telling to eat it. Wow. Which was an interesting perspective. Like, you want to go in with a very challenging relationship out of the gate. Yeah. So when we asked them to make the adjustment on their end so that they'd be in compliance, and they said no repeatedly, we then went to Airbnb and said, we'd like to make you to make this adjustment, or we'd like the reservation gone. You know, we don't want to be the one to cancel it, but we're not the ones that aren't in compliance. Right. And Airbnb said, well, in your email communication, they said there was 2 of them coming, and you agreed to the reservation. And I said, well, that's not on me to make certain that the number matches. They signed an agreement with Airbnb that they would be accurate in what they do to sign up. And if they can game the system, then you're going to lose your hosts. You're going to lose the foundation of your company. If it gets public, then everyone can just go and you side on behalf of the guest who is directly misleading, consciously misleading. And they sided on the guest's behalf for a very long time in that transaction. And then ultimately understood through management that probably wasn't the best bet. Yeah. But it was the principle of the matter that I was fighting, because it wasn't the $25 at that point. Sure. But I needed them to understand you have to have your host back. Your business is based on your host. Right. So in the end, they did. They made it right. They canceled the reservation. They had to find other accommodations for that guest. They paid out the full reservation price so that nothing was lost. They basically, it cost them a fortune. And everything could have been great. Everything could have had that guest still be there. The additional $20, they didn't want to pay the $25. Airbnb eat the $25. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. It was, but that was, generally speaking, I have great experience. I have no cause to even call them because they've thought of so much and there's so much in place.
Now, this week, Airbnb announced that they're going to be taking people off the platform who have more than one address. Do you have any feelings about that?
I do have strong feelings about that. I feel like the basis for this business was to share your personal home or your, and residence with others, and not game it as a for-profit corporate entity, which is what it's really kind of turned into. And that minority is giving the majority a bad reputation. And I don't believe that Airbnb is a direct source for the affordable housing problem within our city. But I could see if this minority made its way greater, I could see where that could be a problem. And that's not the intention of the company. It's not goodwill for the business and for the other hosts that are doing the right thing. A lot of these, I'm guessing, aren't probably registered either, and that's something that is important to me, that we agreed to the terms with the city and Airbnb on how to proceed legally. And I think that we the city needs to support what they've agreed to and uphold it, as well as Airbnb. They need to enforce the agreements. That's a small step in the right direction, but I'd like to see this agreement upheld by both parties, and respected by both parties. And I think we've been given adequate time to get in compliance. So I would like to see Airbnb be more responsive, even if we're just a test city, to prove that the model works and that their word is good and that we can believe and have faith in the company, which I believe we can. I believe they've shown it to me in the past that they're a good faith company. But they're at a point where they need to put the good faith back in their agreement and really show us. So, I mean, is that too convoluted of an answer?
No, I think that's great.
Okay. I mean, you're the interviewer.
So basically, what you're saying is that you agree that they're taking people off the platform who are misusing the process, and who are and in terms of misusing, we're talking about what the city of Portland has passed into the legal form. My last question for you, for the interview, is there anything that you would especially like our guests to know about you? We're going to have a picture of you, and we're going to have a link to your listing on the webpage for people to see, so they can check you out. But is there anything in particular that you would like for them to know?
I think for me, it's that I respect individuals. I really am not just giving my home, I'm giving myself. And that I'm not in this for the money, but the exchange. And I wholeheartedly love the culture that Airbnb has created, and I feel that it is a blessing and a gift that I'm part of this greater community of travelers. I just took a class on international traveling last night because I'm about to go to Italy and Germany and all this, and so much of they talked about the different platforms, and these are world travelers and their experiences, and they believe that I think the world travelers are just a unique community of people that are curious and engaged and creative. And I'm just so fortunate that that type of person is coming into my life on a regular basis. And having grown up in Portland and being a local, I don't think that we had a lot of exposure to different cultures when I was younger. And so I've carved a place in this town that is showing its diversity more and more, but to exponentially experience that diversity every day. And so I'm curious, I'm inquisitive, I'm open, I'm hospitable, and I care for them while they're in my home.
Excellent. Thank you, Shannon.
Sure.
What a lovely interview. Oh, my goodness.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, my pleasure.
You asked great questions.
Oh, thank you.
I think that is a hard...
Isn't she great? I have to say, this is one of my favorite episodes. Shannon is so engaging and friendly. I can see why her guests love her. So if you go to our website at Hosting Your Home, you'll see her picture and links for her listings. I think I want to stay at her listing just so I can hang out with her some more. She's just really so cool. Next week, I'm going to tell you a little bit about our conference that we're having in April. It's put on by an organization, a nonprofit organization that we just created called Host to Host. So I hope you'll tune in for that as well. As always, you can find us at our website, hostingyourhome.com. We have a Facebook page, which is also called Hosting Your Home, and that's where we upload the episodes. So you'll find the episodes at our website, at our Facebook page, and wherever you download your podcasts. In addition, we have the Facebook group, which is also Hosting Your Home, but you have to look for the group things. You just go up to the top search of your Facebook page and plug in Hosting Your Home, and then you'll find us. It's a closed group. You'll have to ask to join, but that's where conversations and informational posts take place. Would love to see you there, and thank you so much for listening once again. See you next week. Take care.